Commissioner.
Hi, this is Sasan. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Do you need another invite to the Teams meeting?
Yeah, I apologize that I was wondering if maybe you or Carol could send it to my work email.
Welcome to the regular June 21st, on this first day of summer, Planning Commission meeting. Some housekeeping items to start off with, and that is if you're on the phone and would like to address the Planning Commission for any of the items as they come up, please push *3 on your phone. You'll be identified by the last 4 digits of your phone number. State your name and spell your last name so that you'll be on the record. Other than that, Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call to determine a quorum?
Mary Anderson.
Here.
Patricia Chesbro.
Here.
Colleen Begg.
Here.
Chris Elder.
Here.
Stafford Glashen.
Present.
Sasan Masanan.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. The next is the approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda as has been presented? Commissioner Chesbro?
No.
Commissioner Glashen?
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Anderson?
No, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Masanin?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
And I have no objections. So the agenda is approved as presented. Mr. Cross, would you like to lead us in the pledge tonight?
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. The consent agenda will be taken in one vote by the planning commissioners unless there are any objections, and then the planning commissioner has the option to bring something forward for individual consent. First on the agenda, the consent agenda, are the minutes from June 7th. Second is introduction for public hearing for quasi-judicial matters. Resolution PC 21-14, a conditional use permit in accordance with MSB 17.30 conditional use permits, CUP, for earth material extraction activities for the extraction of approximately 2 million cubic yards of earth material from a 105-acre site within a 160-acre parcel located within Township 17 North Range 2 West Section 10 tax parcel C001-17N02W10C001. Oh. Seward Meridian, the public hearing will be July 19th. The applicant is Umiak Environmental on behalf of Co-Alaska. Mr. Weisenhunt will be the staff person for that. Are there any items any members of the Planning Commission would like to pull for individual consideration? Commissioner Musanen?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Anderson?
No, Madam Chair.
And all no's from here on the panel. Therefore, the consent agenda is approved as read. Next is public hearing on, nope, we don't have anything for public hearing, committee reports. Then is land use classifications. This is Resolution PC 21-13, a resolution of the Matanuska-Susitna Borough Planning Commission approval of the land classification of certain borough-owned lands proposed for inclusion in future land sales and one parcel for public retention, and forwarding recommendations to the Matanuska-Susitna Borough Assembly for approval. MSB 007737. Staff is Nancy Cameron of the Land Use Management Agency. Ms. Cameron?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners and staff, I haven't been before you in quite some time, but we've been working on kind of wrapping up some of these older properties that we've had on the books for a long time. And the purpose of this evening's request is to classify approximately 27 borough-owned parcels. One of them we are hoping to retain for public purpose, and the other ones we are hoping to have classified for the purpose of selling them, whether it's, selling them in our upcoming competitive bid sale this fall. And the packet is very self-explanatory. I hope that you've had an opportunity to read about the parcel information. I don't know that you want or need me to go through each parcel, but if you do, I certainly can address each one. I'm very familiar with all of these parcels. I think the main thing is that we did have some public comment on several of them, and all those comments that we received have either been addressed in the best interest finding itself or have been attached as handouts because many of the comments came in after the cutoff date for receiving those comments. But I never let them go aside. They always come forward. The main thing is under the analysis and discussion that I kind of wanted to highlight a couple of things is that over the last couple of years, we have seen such an interesting uptick in public interest in buying borough land. And we really can't put our finger on it other than, and it's not just the lands that I deal with, the patented lands and stuff, it's the tax foreclosed lands, it's all of them. And we think, this is our theory, is that people were just so tired of being sequestered during pandemic that they were looking for outs. They were looking for opportunities to get away to a safe environment that was close to home. So that was one of the things. And also there was a lot of government stimulus money that was going around, and that helped a lot because the lands that are in my land sale programs, the borough does offer financing on them. So it makes it very affordable for folks that are just, don't have a lot of cash, but they can make payments, right? And so last year, between 3 land sales that we held back to back, we brought in over $2 million in revenue to the borough, which was very significant. Never happened in my 17-year career here. And so this money that comes in helps fund borough projects. It helps funds road project, trail projects, surveys, land acquisitions, community projects. So it's not just money that is just sitting there idle. It is spread throughout the community. And so the revenue that we are able to bring in through our land sales is significant and important to the borough as a whole. And so I wanted to point that out. And then the other thing is that under those finance terms, just in case you're curious, The state statute says that we can't exceed 10.5% as a government agency. So typically what we have always done in the past is we've taken the prime and then we've added 5 to it. So in this instance right now, and it is going to fluctuate, it sounds like, from the Treasury Department, but at 3%, we add 5, so or 3.25. So our interest rate would be 8.25, which is a little bit higher than what the banks would charge. But we're not here to compete with the financial institutes. We are here to offer an opportunity if they can't do something different, because the banks also require a very significant down payment. A lot of people don't have that much cash on hand. So we do try to equalize the field and give that opportunity. And we do the borough financing under a deed of trust. So just so you understand that. The other thing that I kind of wanted to point out is that 3 of the parcels at the tail end of the list are actual right-of-way parcels or they were acquired for right-of-way purposes and projects. And so those 3 parcels, the Triton Farm out at Point Mac was acquired for the purpose of the rail extension from the port. And then the Maribel Lake property was acquired for the Southern Road Extension project. And then the Stepan Lake property was acquired for the upgrade to Ryan Creek Road for safety measures. So once we determined how much right-of-way was actually needed, the remainder of the property doesn't need to be held by the borough. So that's what we're selling with those easements in place. Those properties are based on an appraised value by third-party appraiser, and that money, those properties have to be cash-only sales because that money will go back to those right-of-way projects specifically. All the other properties that we have are based on the minimum competitive bid price will be assessed value, tax assessed value, as per our code. And we don't typically do appraisals on those. Let's see, that's kind of it in a nutshell. Some of the properties, as I've stated in the best interest finding, some of them have been actually nominated by the public. People who are interested in buying these properties, Trinity Lakes, Kenny Lakes, the Talkeetna property was nominated by a Talkeetna resident for use or to look at purchasing. Just because somebody nominates a piece of land doesn't mean that they're going to get first dibs on it. It's a sealed competitive offering, but it does at least get it in the queue. And the other parcels are just parcels that we have owned for a very long time. And my goal is to get those at least classified, get them out so they can be sold. So after I'm gone from here, that my predecessor can step in and just continue the program. So I'm kind of doing that legwork now. Do you have any questions?
Are there any questions from the commissioners for Mr. Chesbro? Do you have any questions?
So how do they bid on these? How do they do they have sealed bids and then you take the highest or something like that?
Yes, excuse me, through the chair to Planning Commissioner Chesbro. Yes, it's a competitive sealed bid. And so we put a brochure out and each parcel, like the maps that you see, there will be a map there that will show what the minimum bid accepted is, which is the assessed value. And so what happens is they submit the packet to us with a certain down payment or deposit, and we hold those until the end of the offering. And then we open everything at the same time. And then the highest bidder on a piece of property, it becomes the apparent successful bidder. But we also then take that bidder and we review it financially to make sure that they are whole with the borough. They don't owe taxes, they don't owe us anything, or they haven't reneged on a contract with us or whatever. There's parameters that qualify them under the code. And if we get 2 bids in, which we have for the same amount, then we date and timestamp every bid that comes in. So then that becomes the precedence for who's the winning bid. And then we can hold backup bids so that if somebody doesn't actually come to the table in the time that they need to sign the deed, to finish the deal, to close, we can go to the second bidder. So any of the properties that don't receive a bid are automatically eligible per code to go into an over-the-counter sale, meaning that it's first come, first serve. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Glaschen?
Yes, through the chair. So I saw quite a bit of public comment on parcel 2115 in Talkeetna.
Yes.
And I was curious, it's on the list to be reclassified. what went into that decision? Is there no future anticipated borough need for land in that area?
You know, and that's like the crystal ball. Through the chair to Commissioner Glassman, that's been the paramount question that has come from Talkeetna. Let's hold it because we don't know what we might need it for in the future. So just of note, in the Talkeetna area, the borough has set aside over 27,000 acres for rec purposes, trails, parks, public facilities, things like that. And so we have been very, very, very attentive to looking at the future need of Talkeetna and listening to them. So I don't know what the purpose would be. The parcel is actually 4.82 acres. You've got setbacks from the highway and things like that. So how much of that is actually usable? Some of the things that they've said, well, what if the fire department there, floods into the river, we could move it there. Well, we could temporarily, but we also have property right across the street where the library is that we could more easily set them because it's developed. We've got a park shop there. We've got space there. So we look at those kinds of things. We've got the old location where the old library was that's still viable and developed and it's got parking. And so I don't know how to answer that question because there are other viable parcels in that area that could be utilized for a public purpose if needed.
Okay, and as a follow-on, so that price listed for that's based on the tax value?
Yes, sir. The certified tax value for 2021.
Seems like a good deal.
It is. That's probably why it was nominated.
Commissioner Anderson, any questions for Ms. Cameron?
Yes, Madam Chair. On those 3 parcels that were appraised, they were appraised in 2018, 2014, and 2016. And I was wondering if the price or the values have increased for 2021.
Increased. Through the chair to Commissioner Anderson, I've wondered that as well. These properties are controlled by a different department under a different set of parameters, I guess, if you will. We have not had those properties reappraised. I don't believe that has been their intent, the right-of-way intent to have those reappraised at this time. We have offered the Triton Farm several times with no acceptable takers for this property. And I don't think Maribel or Stepan has been offered before. So I don't know. The price could well be higher. It could potentially be lower.
Thank you.
Do you have a follow-up, Commissioner Anderson?
Just wondering how they work, what their value is as a tax assessed value in comparison.
I can tell you that. The Triton Farm is assessed at $359,700. That and the land is 144,800, and the buildings which are considerably dilapidated are assessed at 214,900 for a total of 359,700. The Maribel Lake property is assessed at 36,500. And the Stepan Lake property is assessed at 39,400.
Thank you.
Commissioner Masanin, any questions for Ms. Cameron?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Through the chair, I do not believe in my 4 years that I've had the opportunity to look at a land use classification resolution. I'm wondering what are the tools that commissioners have in terms of being able to give feedback to Ms. Cameron in terms of what what things we can see to affect these classifications? I guess, do we have the ability to say, no, this property we do not agree with, or we don't agree with the price, or what? I guess I'd like to know what mechanisms we have to weigh in on this outside of saying, yay, go for it.
Through the chair to Commissioner Massanon, I'm sorry. Thank you, sorry. The commission has the authority to pull any parcel. You don't have to give a reason. You just have the authority to do it. So does the assembly. You do not have the authority to dictate price because that is set by code or is controlled by code under Title 23. And the assembly would have the potential to do that, but the commission doesn't have that authority at this point. As far as the classifications, the classifications are in Title 23 in our code, and we try to fit those classifications as best we can for the highest and best use of that property as we see it. So when we use things like, instead of drilling down too deep, because sometimes that can be a little off-putting with the community because they think it's a zoning. If we classify it for industrial use, they think that's the only thing they can use it for. So I have found that it's more effective to classify them as public rec or private rec, general purpose, because if you read the classification definition that's in the best interest finding, it kind of tells you that that's in line with what's going on around that property, what's happening with the neighboring property. And so it's kind of in the same realm.
Follow-up, Commissioner Massanon?
No, thank you very much, Madam Chair.
So I think, if I'm not mistaken, the short answer to that is that if we make an amendment to pull a property from the list, that would be the way that we would go about that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? Follow-up questions?
Yes.
Commissioner Chesbro?
I just have a question about parcel 2124, which has the trails. How does that all end up working?
So through the chair to Commissioner Chesbro, 2124 is interesting. So it's two government lots, and government lots, when they're conveyed to, or conveyed, period, just when they're conveyed as a legal lot of record. The government lot is typically created because it's not quite a full aliquot part, meaning it's not a full 40 or full 10 or whatever. It's got some weird thing that's keeping it from being a full something. And so they're conveyed by government as government lots. So this tax ID number combines two government lots for the purpose of taxation only, or tax assessed value. So we've got government lot 2 and government lot 5. We have trails that are going through both of those lots that are not surveyed. We are aware of them. They're in our trails plan. They connect to dedicated trails. There's no money to survey the trails. And so when Mr. Stewart, Mr. Charles talked to me, he's the chair of the Willows Committee, and one of my colleagues in land management works very closely with the trails folks. And we talked this out, and he said, we really, really want to retain at least that southern piece, that lower government lot, because that's really the biggest connector that we have going to the Lucky Shot Trail system. The northern one has the trails follow along the waterway, and there's actually an easement, a long easement along that waterway that's public. And so the trail, because it hasn't been surveyed, it's kind of out there floating and just used, and it's a winter trail only. So how do we mark that in the winter unless it's actually dedicated? And so what we thought, and what he thought was a pretty reasonable idea, was to go ahead and classify those two lots. The northern one, which could easily be sold and developed because it's connected to a subdivision, and we could reserve those trails through that upper lot, or that government lot, after we survey them. And then when we transfer it, then it's dedicated and it's in the deed, right? But the lower one, the government lot 5, we would like to retain that for public use, for public recreation in perpetuity. And the only way that that can change is if the assembly chooses to change that classification. So that lot is protected because that's really the one that's the big connector to the other trail systems that are dedicated.
Madam Chair, so how do we do that? How could we do that if we, as a commission? Just say we want to remove GLO 2 or something? How would we separate them like that?
That's an interesting question. You could, because they're two legal lots of record. And so the tax ID number is just an identifier for purpose of taxation or assessment. And so we're really dealing with the legal description. So if you guys wanted to exclude or pull government lot 2 out, you can do that. And that's fine. And when I move forward with the legislation to the assembly, we'll just pull that out. We're just gonna do the south half, which is GLO 5.
And I apparently wasn't paying attention during roll call, and I didn't realize that Commissioner Elder is in fact on the line. I will note that none of the votes that we've taken so far would be changed by his vote, either in favor or opposition, so we won't have to take any revotes. But Commissioner Elder, do you have a comment for a question from Ms. Cameron?
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, Ms. Cameron. When you said it was a $2 million capital influx to the borough, is that sales, or is that in down payments, or is that in down payments and monthly payments, or just what did the $2 million represent?
Okay. Through the commissioner to Commissioner Elder. So good question. So the 2 million is what the assessed value is of those lots that are going to go on the tax rolls. Now, as far as the actual dollar revenue that we received, there's a breakdown of that because we do have some of those under deed of trust where we're making monthly payments. On the tax foreclosed properties, those are all cash sales. And that was almost $1 million of that. That when we sold the tax foreclosed properties, we received in revenue at the end of that sale in cash, almost $1 million. So for mine, it's a different formula because we're looking at monthly payments over the course of 10 years, 5 and 10 years. And I don't have that breakdown with me tonight, but I do have it broken down. But you're correct that that total revenue that we saw in those sales didn't equate to cash $2 million, but it did equate to $2 million in assessed value that will be taxed.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions? Commissioner Massana and Commissioner Anderson?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So with that, we'll open up for public comment. Is there any for public hearing? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address a PC 21-13 land use classifications? Please step forward. State your name for the record and spell your last name. And you'll have 3 minutes.
Okay, my name is Kathleen Weeks, W-E-E-K-S. I own Lot 2, which is adjacent to Lot 1 on Carpenter Lake. You're proposing to divide Lot 1 on Carpenter Lake into 2 parcels and sell off 2 parcels. And I have a detailed comment in the comments. I wrote to the borough at the time I bought Lot 2 and said, what are the plans? And the plans were the state would be building a boat launch there, which would be great because the boat launch on the west end of the lake has no camping, no picnic tables, no place to park your trailer. Just drop your boat in and find someplace else to go because it's only a limited access to drop a boat or a canoe into the lake. But Carpenter Lake's beautiful. It's over 1 mile long. Float planes do touch and goes on it all the time. The state stocks it on a regular basis every year, and that's why they were interested in the boat launch when we all purchased those properties back in 1994. There is absolutely no public access of any kind on the whole north side of the lake. The whole north side was granted through federal patents, so there's not even the right to walk along the lake there. So on the south end of the lake, there's no public access at all. So that lot 1 was reserved for the purpose of a community development later or a public boat launch, and also to serve as a buffer between the community and Burma Road. If you look at the right-of-way for Burma Road, it's 300 feet wide. It's your main access that has always been planned to connect with the bridge. So it ran from Willow, and you're gonna see it on your long-range plan tonight, later in the agenda. So if you eliminate Lot 1 as a reserved and not for public sale, which is what the note says, you have no buffer between the community and Burma Road because it runs almost all the way up to Lot 1. Well, it's adjacent to Lot 1. And the borough is apparently proposing that a little right-of-way adjacent to Burma Road take the place of Lot 1 as a public boat launch. Just look at any aerial of that area, and that land that's allegedly suitable for a public boat launch is about a 75 to 80 degree cliff down to a swamp. So it's like Girdwood's slush cup, and you aren't going to get a road through there, and you aren't going to get a public boat launch in there. And you can see that if you look at the drawings of Lot 1 that the state supplied when they were planning to put the boat launch in, because they had to weave their road around 3 swamps. I mean, there's huge swampy areas on Lot 1 all the way down to Burma Road. So you have to weave through and find some suitable land to build on. The plat note, it does run with the land. It's a permanent injunction on the borough not to sell. It says it's for public use and not to be sold. And that community out there has been a very active community. They developed a lake management plan for the lake, went through the assembly and all that. They also just developed a playground. And in developing the playground, they came to the borough and said, is there any land on Carpenter Lake we could use for a playground? The answer was, well, there's Lot 4, a tiny little lake that was ultimately sold. And so the borough had good land on Carpenter Lake that could have involved that playground, which was beautifully built, but it didn't go in there. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience who would like to address the commission? Is there anyone on the phone that has their hands raised? If you'd like to speak to the commission regarding the land management, then please press *3 and we'll identify you by your last, okay. There's no one on the phone. Then I'm going to invite the staff to come and address any of those concerns that you wish to address, or are there any?
Madam Chair and all the commissioners, I think that the testimony that was presented by Ms. Weeks is valid. She lives on that lake and she has for a very long time. She has much more knowledge about it than I do. It was an idea that we had to move that because we have no funding to develop that property. And I see no foreseeable funding to develop that property at all. So I don't want to discount her testimony. And whatever the commission decides, I'm good with. So I'll take those recommendations forward to the assembly, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
I just have one question. That's about the grade of that parcel that we're talking about, or that will be separated from that to go down to a boat launch. Is that an accurate assessment or determination of that grade? And is that the plan?
Through the chair, again, there's no funding to develop anything for a boat launch or a campground or to put restrooms there or to clear it or anything else. I do not, I know that Carpenter Lake is one of those lakes that is deep when you get down to it, and not all of the land is just an easy slope. I can't speak directly to that actual topography off of Burma. But I do agree that there's a lot of swampy areas on that 18, almost 19 acre lot 1 that we own. that it could be divided. It could be utilized for cabin site. Would it be the best development site for permanent residence? I don't know. I'm not a contractor. But I do know that there was talk a long time ago about the state stepping up and helping, and that, of course, didn't pan out. We don't expect that to pan out in the future at all, and it's not on our radar. So if that lot is pulled and we do nothing with it, then it will remain vacant for a very long time. And if we were to move forward with it, the ultimate decision really is going to be at the plating board level, because they're the ones that have to approve removing the plat note and allowing the subdivision to happen. And so we've got this step, assembly, and then the plating board. So we'll see what happens with that.
Thank you. Any other questions for Ms. Cameron? Just a second.
No, I had,
Oh, not for you, her?
what's
Okay.
the parcel number?
It's the very end of it.
Are you the parcel number from my thing here?
Yeah.
It is
G something.
parcel 21-25.
Thank you. And Madam Chair, can we ask questions of other staff present?
Oh, sure.
Could we hear from Mr. Swartz?
Father's Day. Commissioner.
Yes. I know you're not here for this. I just wanted to ask, the borough's been successful in getting some excise tax funding for boat launches and stuff from Fish and Game. Is that program still around and viable?
It is, as far as I know, yes.
Okay. And wasn't there a project that went forward and the residents shut it down?
I'm not aware of which project you're talking about.
Okay. But there is money, state money available for things like boat launches and such with the borough match.
Yes, Fish and Game has funding like that, and once in a while, the borough puts money, funds that kind of thing itself.
All right, thank you.
Okay, and there is no one that has entered the room that has been waving their hands. Is there anyone else on the phone that has waved their hand that wants to be addressed or wants to speak to this?
So we do have somebody on the phone. If you would like to speak to this matter, please press star 3 so that we know you'd like to speak.
No waving of hands. So with that, we'll close the public comment. Is there a motion? Is there a motion from the phone?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Glassman.
I move to approve Planning Commission Resolution PC 21-13.
Is there a second?
A second?
So it's been moved by Commissioner Glassman, seconded by Commissioner Chesbro to move 2113, which is a resolution of the Matanuska-Susitna Borough Planning Commission approving the land classification of certain borough-owned lands proposed for inclusion in future land sales and for public retention, and forwarding recommendation to the Matanuska-Susitna Borough for approval. Commissioner Glassman, comments?
I would like to propose a modification, an amendment to the resolution to remove parcel 21-25 from the reclassification.
Okay, so there's an amendment on the floor. It's been moved by Commissioner Glassman to remove land parcel 21-25. Is there a second to that amendment?
A second?
It's been seconded by Commissioner Chesbro. Commissioner Glassman, comments?
It's surprising with the number of lakes that we have in the valley, how few boat launches there are, even semi-developed ones. The ones that are on section easements are a nightmare for the residents and people trying to use their boat on the lake because there's nowhere to park. So there may not be money today or tomorrow, but I'd hate to see this parcel go for to be sold and not have public use in the future.
Commissioner Glassman? Oh, sorry, you just spoke. You don't get a second bite at that apple. Commissioner Chesbro?
I agree. I think that the fact that they're it's a possibility that in the future we could do that. Hopefully, at some point, we'll be able to do some of these things that we've been wanting to do a long time in this borough.
Is there any comments from Commissioner Anderson, Commissioner Elder, or Commissioner Mosanen? Now I've got another two of them. Any other comments? Commissioner Anderson?
Yes, Madam Chair.
And this is to the amendment.
Okay. I'll hold off because I agree with what they're doing.
Okay.
But
So
I have
we-
another motion.
Yeah, okay, so we'll take this motion. So Commissioner Elder, any comments to the motion?
No comments, no objection.
Commissioner Mosanen?
No comment, Madam Chair.
Okay, so without further comments, then Mr. Strawn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So if you don't actually amend the reso, then I guess it would be sort of directing staff to do that. But if you want to make this official, you'd modify the reso in some manner by adding language or subtracting language. And so we don't really have anything that's in the reso that's before you to vote on right at this moment. So might want to refine that motion a little bit.
Well, could we just say with the exception of land parcel 21-25? Oh,
Madam Chair, I think in the past, when parcels have been pulled, there has been an actual whereas we found that we wanted to remove these parcels from the thing, and that can be added as an amendment. You could certainly trust staff. We would honor that, but at least it's now in writing and it's of history. So.
okay, so we will add then, Mr. Glashan, make sure that you're okay with this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A seventh whereas, parcel 21-25, you complete that sentence?
Whereas the Planning Commission recommends retaining parcel 21-25.
Is that enough language according to legal?
I think we might have to add in the next paragraph, borough-owned parcels as stated herein, something about except, is exempted or discussed above.
Could it be under now therefore be it resolved? Touch Exhibit A, pages 1 and 2. Eliminating the, whatever the item that is.
That's a little simpler. I like it.
Yeah.
I'm all for simple.
Removing from page 2, item number, or land parcel number 21-25 from,
Mr. Strawn has it on the screen.
Oh. Thank you, my old eyes. They cheated me a screen here today. So whereas so we have a seventh whereas, the Planning Commission recommends retaining parcel 21-25. And then in the following paragraph, now therefore be it resolved, third line down, classification of the following borough-owned parcels as stated herein, except parcel 21-25, no other changes. Does that say what you'd like it to say, Commissioner Glashan?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Chesbro has the second.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay, so does everybody on the phone, are you able to follow along with that? We're adding a seventh whereas, stating the Borough Planning Commission recommends retaining parcel 21-25. And then on page 2 of 2, for Exhibit A, the now therefore be it resolved, we are going to add language that says, except parcel 21-25 after the herein. Is that clear for everyone?
Yes,
So
Madam Chair.
Yeah, so a yes vote supports that change, a no vote removes it, and we're back to the original amendment. So, wait, let me get my little paper here. Commissioner Elder, how do you vote?
No objection.
Commissioner Anderson?
No objection.
Commissioner Mosanen?
No objection.
Commissioner Chesbro?
No objection.
Commissioner Glassman?
Yes.
And Chair Vega says yes as well. And for that, actually, it's better to vote in the affirmative or the negative rather than a double negative. So the amendment removing parcel 21-25 passes. We're back to the main motion as passed by, or as presented by Commissioner Glassman. Commissioner Chesbro, do you have any comments as the second?
No comments. I think that the way that it's, that this is worded is effective, and I understand, and I agree.
Commissioner Anderson, you had another amendment you wanted to make?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. I would like to to classify government lot 5 as public recreation lands to be retained for the purpose of current and future trail connectivity and public use, and classify government lot 2 as general use for the future sale once the existing trails are surveyed and the actual value be determined.
There's a little breakup going on there, so we may ask you to repeat that, but basically you're asking for which parcel number?
It's parcel 21-24.
Okay, you're asking for parcel 21-24 to be retained because of the trails?
Right. Basically, parcel 21-24 has unreserved but historically used and identified trails that are running through it.
Okay, so it's been moved by Commissioner Anderson to remove 21-24 from the items of parcels for sale at this time because of the trails. Is there a second to that? Oh, wait. Mr. Strawn.
So if we could do as we did before and actually modify the resolution, so sort of lists where this change is going to occur, and go slow so I can record it.
So we're going to shorten it. So we're going to add an eighth whereas. Planning Commission recommends retaining parcel 21-24 to be used as trails.
Madam
Oh.
Chair,
Yes.
basically we need to reclassify government lot 5, which is the lower portion, the southern portion of 21-24,
Okay.
and reclassify it as public recreation lands to be retained. And to classify government lot 2, which is the northern portion, as general use. So we can separate those two, and then we can retain government lot 5 and at a future date, put government lot 2 for sale under general use.
Well, that's beyond the scope of what we're doing here tonight. So
Yep.
what we're going to do then is Planning Commission, what Mr. Strawn has written up at this time is Planning Commission recommends retaining parcel 21-24 to be reclassified as public recreation lands and to classify government lot. Oh, so actually it would be to reclassify parcel 5 as public recreation lands and parcel 2 as as private recreation? Is that what she said? General use. Okay. Ms. Cameron's coming forward to address us.
Madam Chair and Commissioner Anderson. So we actually are classifying it that way. We've got the north half, which is GLO Lot 2 for general purpose, and we have the south half, which is Government Lot 5 for public recreation. That's the planned classification in this document. If you wanted to add to the GLO Lot 2 that we could sell in the future, which is what the intent of this legislation is, you could add a whereas saying at such time when the trails are surveyed. If you wanted to put that caveat on it, you could.
So
Because it's already classified how
Great.
Commissioner Anderson is wanting it classified. That's how we have it stated.
So
If you
can
wanted
you
to-
help me
Yes.
wordsmith this?
Yes.
You talk, I'll type.
Okay. I can't see it. So, okay. So whereas the commission agrees with dual classification of parcel 2124, north half, and you can just make the half sign, for general purpose, south half for public recreation, and the general purpose classification to only be forwarded for sale once the trails are surveyed. Got it? That makes the intent very clear.
So here is what Commissioner Anderson has proposed, and Commissioner Chesbro has seconded, correct? Did you second that? Okay. Whereas number 8, the Planning Commission agrees with dual classification of parcel 21-24, north half for general purposes, south half for public recreation, and then I think that should be a period there, and then start with a new sentence, otherwise it's a pretty long sentence. The general purpose classification to only be forwarded for sale once the trails are surveyed. Is that clear for everybody on the phone? Any questions? If there's a question, wave your hand and Alex will get you. So that's been moved and seconded. Is there any other comment regarding that? Commissioner Anderson, you have first bids at the comment.
Nope, she wordsmithed it perfectly.
Thank you. Commissioner Chesbro?
No, I think that makes it much more clear.
Thank you. Commissioner Mosanen, any other further comments regarding that amendment?
No comment, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Elder?
No comment from me either.
Any other comments from here? So we're ready to take a vote. So the resolution or the amendment on the floor is whereas the Planning Commission agrees with dual classification of parcel 21-24, north half for general purpose and the south half for public recreation, the general purpose classification to only be forwarded for sale once the trails are surveyed. A yes vote moves that amendment, a no vote brings us back to the general, whatever it is, resolution. There, general motion, there you go. So Commissioner Anderson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Mosanen?
Yes.
Commissioner Chesbro?
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Commissioner Elder?
Yes.
So the unanimous votes, amendment number 2 is forwarded. So now we're back to the main motion as amended. Unless there is other further comment for anybody who wants to make a further amendment to resolution 21-13. Any other amendments that wish to be brought forward? Okay. You want to shut that microphone off there? Thank you very much. So main motion is 21-13, resolution of the Matanuska-Susitna Borough Planning Commission, approval of the land classification of certain borough-owned lands proposed for inclusion in future land sales, and one parcel for public retention, and forwarding recommendations to the Matanuska-Susitna Borough Assembly for approval. A yes vote again approves resolution 21-13 as amended. A no vote is a no vote. So Commissioner Mosanen?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Chesbro?
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Chair votes yes. Commissioner Elder?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
And resolution 21-13 is approved unanimously as amended. All right, now we come up to, and believe it or not, audience participation. 3 minutes for anybody who would like to address the Planning Commission on any items that were not up for public hearing tonight. We only have one up for public hearing, and that's resolution 21-12, which is for the long transportation infrastructure package. So anyone wishing to address the Planning Commission on any other items than that one public hearing? There's no one here in the building. Is there anyone on the phone that's raised their hand? No one's raising their hand. So We will close public audience participation. And we'll move forward to public hearing. This is public hearing legislative, so we don't have any we don't have any quasi, so we don't have any ex parte. So the public hearing resolution matters Resolution 21-12, a resolution of the Matanuska-Susitna Borough Planning Commission requesting the Assembly adopt and fund a transportation infrastructure package that includes projects listed in the MSB Long Range Transportation Plan, the LRTP and the Matsu Borough Official Streets and Highways Plan, the OSHP and the Matsu Borough School District Safe Routes to Schools Plan, and to complete the project approved by voters at the 2013 and 2018 bond packages, as well as other prioritized projects, all of which will reduce the traffic congestion, support economic development, improve connectivity, enhance pedestrian and vehicle safety, increase reliability, and provide transportation choices for residents. Staff is Kim Soline and Planning Service Manager and Brad Swartz. You're not bad. Staff report.
Good evening, Planning Commissioners. Thank you, Chairwoman DeVay, for the introduction, and fellow Planning Commissioners. So the list and the resolution that you have here before you tonight, I just wanted to give a brief overview of how we got to the list. And then I'm going to invite my friend Brad up to talk more specifically about the projects that are on the list. So staff were directed in April to come up with a list of transportation infrastructure projects that are of a high priority for the community. As you all know, our community is growing and infrastructure needs are pressing almost every single region of the borough. So staff looked at the Long Range Transportation Plan, the Official Streets and Highways Plan, the Capital Improvement Program, the Road Service Area List, the Safe Routes to School Plan, past bond package projects that didn't get funding, and put together a list of projects that include both road projects, pedestrian pathway projects, public transit projects, and road maintenance projects, as well as funding for right-of-way acquisition, because that's sometimes one of the main challenges of bringing forward a project. We don't have the right-of-way. So we put together this extensive list, shared it with administration. They requested that we take this list out to the public and have conversations about what the public thought about the list. So as we were preparing our public, our documents to share with the public, administration further directed staff to prioritize the list. So the full list is $177 million worth of projects. Administration asked us to pare it down to a $60 million package. And so a group of myself and Brad and Adam Bradway from the planning department, a number of other staff from Public Works got together and did the math to get to this $60 million package, looking at the projects that were already approved and former bond packages to make it to the list, and then other projects that were listed in the LRTP that hadn't been completed. So at that point, we shared the prioritized list with the admin. They said, okay, that looks like a good list. We've made some further tweaks and refinements, changed the budget a bit on some of the projects in the packet that you received prior to us prioritizing that list. And then we took the package to the Transportation Advisory Board, who passed a resolution in support of the prioritized list and made some requests to further dig into the budget for each of the projects. The RSA board also passed a resolution supporting the list. And then we created a hub page on the borough website and did a Facebook campaign to take the community's temperature on whether or not they liked this project list in terms of transportation infrastructure for community needs. A couple highlights I want to share about the community outreach. Folks were asked to heart, I know, very touching, to heart the projects that they like. And from that, the list kind of got reshuffled based on community priorities. The main theme and the hearts from the community were pedestrian pathways. I can't remember exactly how, I don't have the many projects we had in the 60 million priority list. 8 of the projects changed from community priorities versus staff picks all pointing towards pedestrian pathways. So I wanted to highlight that. Another summary of for the comments, and there's information in your packet tonight about that. You know, many of the comments were about safety concerns. Many of the comments were about some of the roads listed on the list were increasing the classification of the road to deal with the additional traffic. And so community was concerned about, oh no, you're going to make a bigger, faster road right out front of my house. We need to talk about this more. So that was some of the other comments. And then, you know, generally there, you know, we got a good amount of support from the school district, who also pushed out the list package, pointing towards all the projects that are connected to safe routes to schools and helping make school access safer. In your packet, we've summarized those comments and provided you all of the comments so you can see them. We also did some Facebook analytics showing you how many people went to the borough Facebook page based on our push, and then to the borough website. What's not in your packet is that we got analytics late from the borough Facebook page, and it looks like about 16,000 people saw the post on the borough Facebook page, and then from there liked and shared the post 319 times, and then went over to the website to like and heart the projects they liked. So in general, we didn't get a ton of negative feedback in general about the idea of an infrastructure package, but there's lots of specific comments. I think there were 109 individual comments that people made. So in terms of questions that you may have about the specific projects, Brad is here and he can talk in more detail about all of the projects, but I just want to give an overview of how we got to the list. Oh, I want to say one other thing. We were advised just to put together the list and be thoughtful about it and share it with the community and talk to the various boards and commissions about it. We were advised not to talk about funding mechanisms at this point. Tomorrow night, the Assembly is having a special meeting to talk about the package, and they may choose to move things to the next level, and they will be receiving a presentation about potential funding mechanisms if they want to move forward in that direction. So that's why that information isn't in your packet tonight. So.
Are there any questions for Ms. Salil at this time, Celine? Commissioner Galashan.
Madam Chair, I'm curious about the local road service advisory resolution that was in here that talks about specifically the Lucille Road project, and I bring that up because it is one of the priority ones. Having driven that road, that stretch from Selden to Church is, I think, the worst part of it. Just curious as to why that wasn't extended into this. Is it just timing or?
The main reason is we already had a project on the books from a former bond package that covered the Spruce to Selden portion of Lucille. And there's also a project on what they call the RIP list for the RSA group that covers the remainder portion of Lucille from Selden on over to Schrock, I think it is. Is that what you're speaking of?
Correct. Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Anderson, any questions?
No, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Mosanen?
No, Madam Chair, thank you.
Commissioner Elder?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
I just have one in, it's probably because it's taken care of otherwise, but I know that this was something that's been of concern for the community for a while, and that is, I see nothing on here with Seward Meridian to Selden extension.
Yeah, that's a State of Alaska project that they're working on for the borough. That phase, I think it's phase 2 of Selden extension, should be going out to bid this fall with construction happening this, in the following spring in 22. But it's getting close.
Some kid's gonna get killed on that road, and then it'll move it along faster. That's my fear. Any other questions? Then we'll open it up for public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the Planning Commission regarding the long-range transportation plan? Please step forward, state your name. And are you representing the TAB board tonight, or are you, okay, so 5 minutes then.
was already on. There we go. Sorry about that. My name is Josh Cross. I'm the chair of the Transportation Advisory Board, and Kim gave a great summary of what was asked earlier and what was presented to TAB in terms of prioritizing a list, coming up with a list, supporting a list. So I won't rehash all that. Suffice it to say, the Transportation Advisory Board does agree with the list of needs. And actually, I believe it's safe to say we think there are plenty more that need to be addressed as well. Excuse me, but our purpose is to advise the borough on transportation needs, infrastructure needs, et cetera. And so we focused on that in terms of this list. One of the things that we also discussed in our board meeting was past capital project lists and how those were developed and how projects seem to just appear out of nowhere with no vetting, no backing, and no purpose. So we decided that we wanted to keep things focused. We wanted to make sure that that didn't get repeated and we didn't make the same mistakes that happened in previous years. So in terms of our resolution, you can, I believe it's in your packet there. We broke it down into a few different areas. One was, we do agree with the list. We don't have any problems with the roads. We, in past meetings, have actually passed resolutions saying we believe that non-motorized transportation should be a priority when we go to these projects. They should be considered not just in construction, but in planning and throughout the whole project process. So not only do we believe the roads are needed, but we believe trails and pathways are needed, and the right-of-way for those roads and trails and all the stuff that goes with it are needed as well. We also believe that transit is up and coming need for the borough as we grow and expand. There are people in our community that don't drive cars, don't have access to vehicles, are unable to drive, and we believe that Uber is not necessarily the answer to everything. And so transit is a good option, and that we support that. So those are some of the discussions we've had in the past. And in regards to this particular resolution, to make sure that we have a good package that we can afford and is clear, what we looked at is prioritizing the list that was presented to us. And I'll explain that in just a minute. But that list had several projects that have been on previous bond elections and bond elections that have passed, but because of the way we've done things, did not get funded. So they have been vetted. They have gone through the process of getting an estimate of improvements ready. And whether that's old or new, that's indifferent. We know that we've looked at right-of-way. We've looked at the environmental impacts. We've looked at some of the things necessary to make this project viable. We just didn't look at the cost estimate too closely. So what we recommended was that the borough go ahead and prioritize the projects that have already been vetted by voters to move forward. And then we said, okay, but there are plenty of other projects that are on this list. They haven't been on a bond election before. What do we do about those? And so what we asked staff to do is take a look at those and come up with cost estimates. So do some due diligence, go through the vetting process. And if you really believe these are priority projects, then we want to see what the cost is going to be, because from a transportation advisory board advising the borough on transportation systems, we don't want to pump out a list that we can't afford to build. It doesn't make sense, and we don't believe it's responsible on our part to recommend a list that can't be built. So that was the second part of our resolution. And then the third part of our resolution was that we look at, advise the borough to look at all different kinds of funding mechanisms. In the past, there was a bond election, the most recent bond election, where it passed with a 50% match, and that made it difficult to find funding. But I will tell you, there have been 4 community transportation project grants given to the borough from the state of Alaska to build roads that were on that bond list. And so there are other mechanisms to do that, and we would encourage the assembly to look at those. So that was our logic and our process, and I wanted to be able to explain that to you as you read through our resolution and as you consider your own resolution. And then I'm also available if you have questions of any of the discussions we had at our meeting or any of the things that we can help out with. I think that's it for what I had to say for you tonight. Thanks.
And because you're representing the TAB board, I will allow any questions for Mr. Cross at this time, if there are any, regarding the decisions the TAB board made? Any questions? There's none here at the dais. So Commissioner Elder, any questions for Mr. Cross regarding the TAB decisions and resolutions?
No, ma'am, thank you.
Commissioner Mosanen?
No, Madam Chair. Thank you for the work, though.
Commissioner Anderson?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, so thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to address the Planning Commission on Resolution 21-12? Is there anyone on the phone who's raised their hand? There's no one on the phone. So with that, we will close the public hearing. And I'll take a motion. Commissioner Chesbro?
I would move Resolution 21-12.
And is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Glosson seconds. So it's been moved and seconded to pass resolution of the Matanuska-Susitna Borough Planning Commission recommending the Assembly adopt and fund a transportation infrastructure package that includes projects listed in the 2035 Long Range Transportation Plan and the 2007 Official Streets and Highways Plan and the 2014 Safe Routes to Schools Plan to complete the projects approved by voters in the 2013 and 2018 bond package, as well as other prioritized projects, all of which will reduce traffic congestion, support economic development, improve connectivity, enhance pedestrian and vehicle traffic, increase reliability, and improve transportation choices for the residents. As the maker of the motion, Commissioner Chesbro, do you have comments?
I really appreciate the efforts that have gone forward to getting these out to people to prioritize. I think so often in the past, people have said, where did this come from? And, you know, I really do appreciate all the work, and I know it's a lot of work, so thank you.
Commissioner Glosson?
Just a comment and a concern. I really appreciate their prior years. There wasn't as much input from borough staff, different departments. And I did some of my own investigating as I work with these people. And it really went out. Public Works was heavily involved in this. I mean, the public had a big say, but also the people in the borough designing the roads, building the roads, maintaining the roads. So I really feel good about this package. And I really hope the Assembly takes a planning perspective and not a district by district who gets how much perspective and going forward, because, you know, a lot of them are in a couple of districts, but it's also the core area where there is much higher traffic and things need to be addressed.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from anyone on the phone? Commissioner Mosanen, any questions or comments?
No, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Commissioner Elder?
No, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Anderson?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, so it's been moved by Commissioner Chesbro and seconded by Commissioner Glosson to move resolution of the 21-12, a resolution of the Matanuska-Susitna Borough Planning Commission recommending the Assembly adopt and fund a transportation infrastructure package that includes projects listed in the 2035 Long Range Transportation Plan, the 2007 Official Streets and Highways Plan, and the 2014 Safe Routes to Schools Plan to complete the projects approved by the voters in the 2013 and 2018 bond package, as well as other prioritized projects, all of which will reduce traffic congestion, support economic development, improve connectivity, enhance pedestrian and vehicle safety, increase reliability, and provide transportation choices for the residents. Yes vote passes this resolution, and no vote doesn't if we have a majority. So start with Commissioner Chesbro.
Yes.
Commissioner Glosson.
We need an acronym for that name.
Take the
Yes.
first letter of each one of those words and make some hideously long pie sentence out of it, right?
I vote yes.
That's a yes for Commissioner Glosson. Chair votes yes. Commissioner Elder.
Yes, please.
Commissioner Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Mosanen.
Yes.
And with that, it's unanimous vote in support of planning of resolution PC 21-12. Wow, that's still not a real meeting. So correspondence information, old business, anything, Mr. Strawn, that you want to make us aware of? There's nothing on the, no.
Nothing
Yeah,
specific.
anything to add. Upcoming planning commission agenda items outside of 2 million cubic feet of gravel.
Coming at you. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew I'd regret making a comment about that. Any comments, any closing comments, Mr. Strawn?
I will say that you might have noticed that early on in the meeting, there were two people fiddling around in the media room over there. I don't think they did it tonight, but I believe the intent is to have these meetings on Facebook Live going forward. Oh, so it is on. Oh, Jennifer's in there. So we are now on Facebook Live. So not just for radio anymore. We're live. So.
Okay, any comments from legal?
No.
Madam Clerk, any comments?
No, thank you.
So Commissioner Elder, any closing comments?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Mosanen?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Chesbro?
Enjoy the solstice, and now it's going to get darker. That's the sad part about this thing.
Commissioner Glassman?
I'm just really excited to be part of the team that set the Guinness record for the longest resolution name by a planning commission.
Vice Chair Anderson?
No comments.
And again, I just want to thank staff. I know you guys work hard, and I know that we send some things out your way, and just the nature of being understaffed. You put together really good packages, and I really like the big map that I can read. Thanks for that. And with that, the Planning Commission is adjourned at 7:14.